Winter came early this season, and it's contributing to a staggering amount of crashes on our roadways. The State Patrol gives us some ways to prevent becoming a statistic.
Maplewood is stepping up enforcement of overnight parking. We'll tell you how to prevent your car from being ticketed and towed. And as we roll into the new year, we'll take a look back at some of the stories from 2013.
I'm Carrie Crotty.
And I'm Lon Bakey. Thanks for tuning in to your police report. Law enforcement kicked off the 2013 season with a splash.
They helped out a worthy cause by taking a wintry dip. Take a look.
Polar plunges, they started about 16 years ago throughout the state of Minnesota. The first one was actually on Como Lake, and it started with about 100 people that plunged, and they saw the potential that created. Here we are 16 years later. This is the kickoff to the 2013 Polar Plunge season. This is my first of 8 plunges that I'll be doing throughout this entire season.
It was freezing. I like the total anticipation walking up there is just like crazy. I think all of us were talking about, oh my gosh, is it too late to back out?
It's kind of like team building for the whole police department and everybody that was in the tent getting ready to jump. It was awesome. It's really great for the Special Olympian athletes, so it's just a lot of fun.
The wait was a little longer this year, but it was really a huge crowd. I think probably this is my 3rd year jumping, and it was bigger than the 2 previous years. And people were really riled up. And it's just, I think this is the coldest year I've jumped too. But just knowing how cold that water is going to be and how cold the air is going to be when you get out of that water, that's the worst. Just that anticipation.
And I believe Team Bacon Bits will be plunging again. So if you'd like to pledge or find out more information, log on to the Special Olympics of Minnesota's website.
Well, snow followed by frigid conditions have made winter driving a nightmare for many commuters.
Slick conditions have resulted in hundreds of crashes, and we still have a lot of winter to go. Here's what you need to keep in mind when heading out.
Well, it's been very busy for us. We've had hundreds of crashes almost every day that troopers have responded to. The temperatures and the conditions are less than ideal.
Snowfall on our streets is nothing new to Minnesotans, but the sub-zero temperatures following the snow have made the roads hazardous.
The ice is going to be on the roads at all times of day and really until it warms up enough to get the roads completely clear.
With temperatures below average for this time of year, there could be a long road of complicated driving conditions ahead. Lieutenant Eric Roski with the Minnesota State Patrol says icy roads are unpredictable, unexpected, and require people to adjust their speeds.
It's not the slow drivers that cause the problem, it's the ones that are driving too fast.
He says in addition to slowing down, people should leave extra space between cars to allow for more braking distance, and plan ahead and leave early to make it where you need to be on time. And of course, wear your seatbelt. If you do get into a crash and can't pull off to a safe place, move on to the shoulder and stay in your car with your seatbelt fastened. State law also requires cars to move over one lane when approaching emergency vehicles. Safety officials also urge people to keep an emergency kit in their cars containing extra clothes and blankets, water, food, a plastic flashlight, and a bright cloth or emergency road sign. By planning ahead, you can increase your chance of getting where you need to be safely.
All the problems we talk about every time of this year can easily be avoided.
For a full list of emergency kits and other driving tips, log on to the Office of Traffic Safety's website. We're going to take a break, but first,
Here's Nick Kreckler with this month's Maplewood Community Minute.
There have been hundreds of accidents since the first snowfall in December, and emergency workers are responsible for responding to each one. So let's make sure we keep the people in charge of helping us safe. When you see flashing lights, move over. In fact, it's the law. Minnesota's Ted Foss Move Over law was named in honor of the State Patrol trooper killed while on the shoulder of I-90 in 2000. If you're traveling on the road with more than 2 lanes, drivers must keep over 1 full lane away from stopped emergency vehicles with flashing lights. This includes ambulance, fire, law enforcement, maintenance, and construction vehicles. If you're unable to move over a lane, reduce your speed. By failing to take these precautions, you're not only endangering these safety officials, you're also risking a fine that exceeds $100. And just because you don't get a ticket on the spot doesn't mean you won't get a surprise in your mailbox. So be respectful, do the right thing, and keep the people who protect us safe. I'm Nick Kreckler, and I'll see you next time.
during the winter months, our city crews need to get around on our city streets, and as a result, we'll see some more parking enforcement.
Maplewood Street Superintendent Brian Nagel now joins us with more information. Welcome, Brian.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I know it's been a busy winter already. How is the plowing going so far?
Real good so far. The crews have been very proactive in trying to keep the ice pack off the roadways. This December 4th storm, I believe that started accumulating at 2 a.m. in the morning. Crews were in at 4 a.m. to move the morning rush hour. They worked through till 3:30 that afternoon. They were sent home, came back that night at 10 o'clock to resume plowing. So they had quite a few hours in the first 28 hours. I believe they worked about 22 of those hours.
Huh. How big is your fleet?
Well, we have 2 tandem dump trucks and 8 single axle dump trucks. We have a loader, front end loader with a plow on a wing, and we utilize some 1-ton plow trucks also.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the city divided in 10 main plow routes. So when we do head out, there's a truck on a main road in every area of the city, from the south end to the north end to the west.
Other than snow, what are your biggest obstacles you have when plowing?
Well, parked cars is a big one. Trash and recycling placed out in the street. Violation of snow removal ordinances by plowing, pushing, blowing snow into the street. Visibility for the plow operators. There's many of them.
Sure, sure. When is a snow emergency called?
Well, in Maplewood, we really don't have one due to the year-round parking restrictions from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning.
And what are the parking requirements at this point?
Well, currently, the main one that we just mentioned, the no overnight parking from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and also from the onset of a snowfall until the road's cleared curb to curb, no parking for longer than 30 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And when do you usually begin snow plowing after, say, the snow starts flying?
Well, that really depends upon the timing of the event, but our biggest concern is that we're in early enough in the morning, generally between 3 and 5, to help move the morning commute, typically Monday through Friday.
Sure.
And we also want to take care of that evening commute, but that's not to say if a snowfall had begun at 5 in the evening and stopped at 11 that we wouldn't start at midnight. So generally it's as soon as we can get on it before traffic has a chance to compact it down.
Sure, I suppose.
Now, I know the police department's going to help a little bit with the ticket in tow. How will that help you out?
Well, that's just going to increase safety and the efficiency of the operation. Safety for the plow operators, for the residents, whether it's pedestrian traffic or vehicle traffic. We're going to get a better job out of the plowing.
What are some of the regulations in the city for sidewalk snow removal?
Well, as of now, the city of Maplewood maintains main sidewalk on main roads such as Wiper Avenue, Maplewood Mall area, English Street, Hazelwood Street, Jackson, Rice Street. We do a lot of the main roads, and a lot of those are MTC bus routes.
Oh, sure.
So
sure.
currently, the city does that.
And what about as a private citizen, if I have a walkway or a sidewalk on an off street? I have to keep that clean for the post office people, or?
We maintain the main ones that we've identified as collector high-use sidewalks. Other areas we have segmented sidewalks that really go nowhere. It might be a 200-foot stretch,
Sure.
but it would lead nowhere, so they aren't maintained.
Not, okay.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in and talking with us, and you have a thankless job, actually, so from us to you guys, thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely,
It's fun
and
to be here.
Right.
hopefully this will help get some of those cars and things out of the way for you.
Great, appreciate it.
All right. For more information, you can visit the Public Works website.
A sport dominated by men has been gaining popularity among women and our youth.
Take a look at what's giving a whole new meaning to Girls' Night Out.
My husband was a trap shooter and a hunter, so there were guns in the house, and he passed away in 2001. And friends told me that I either had to learn to sell, I either had to learn to shoot them or I had to sell them. When you hold the gun up, this is what you're going to be looking at.
Terry Williams' choice to learn to shoot changed the course of her life. After taking the hunter safety class, she followed up with the firearms class for women. And as they say, the rest is history.
When I got to the trap range, I hit 4 out of 6 birds, and that was it. I was hooked. This is a cylinder release, and it's like a butterfly switch.
Terry continued to excel, and today she runs her own firearms classes through her company, Training Options LLC, is an NRE instructor and vice president of her gun club. She runs clinics for women and has seen a 5 to 20% increase in women shooting.
Women are much more apt to ask a question that they might think is a dumb question if there's all women there.
It's easy to see why Terry's in demand.
That one was low.
Being a novice shooter, she quickly helped guide me in the right direction.
So pull it all the way back. Yep, you want to try that once?
She put me instantly at ease and made it a fun experience rather than a scary one.
The clinics that we run, every gal leaves here with a smile on her face. Just because she's done something that's probably out of her comfort range.
With more families shooting and hunting together, Williams believes the number of women will continue to grow. And in a male-dominated sport, she says she's always been welcomed.
It's been a man's sport, really, for a lot of years. But women are moving in, and I think that a lot of men realize that women and youth are going to be the salvation of the sport.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back,
We'll tell you why police are asking for your help.
Extra DWI enforcement is now being served on Minnesota roads. Getting busted will cost you thousands. Don't be what you drink.
Heroes come from small towns.
Our heroes from across the upper Midwest are coming home from wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Only now, some have a new battle to fight: unemployment. Hello, I'm Rocky Lynn, co-founder of Tribute to the Troops.
I'm Sergeant Dejan Farrell.
And I'm Captain Ron Jarvie. A survey of our troops serving overseas found 25% say employment is a major concern for them as they come home.
Right now, the unemployment rate for today's veteran is 12%. That's twice the average of others living here in the heartland.
These service members learn quickly. They've experience with advanced technology and demonstrate teamwork, discipline, and leadership under difficult circumstances.
This year, Tribute to the Troops, the Armed Forces, and the Upper Midwest Emmy Chapter are asking you to hire our today's veterans. Employers, you've seen what these veterans have done for their country. Think what they can do for your business.
To hire today's veteran, visit positivelyminnesota.com/veteran.
Heroes come from small towns.
Maplewood police are continuing to look for a suspect who stole a safe from the Homestead of Maplewood Assisted Living Facility.
The theft took place in November, and the safe contained a variety of keys, securing rooms and storage cabinets.
The suspect is described as a 25 to 35-year-old white male with a medium build. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Maplewood Police or the Ramsey County Emergency Communications Center outside business hours.
Last month, we brought you the story of a new K-9 team in Maplewood, just beginning their partnership. The bond handlers and their dogs developed is often quite strong, and the loss of a dog can be devastating.
Maplewood officers Tony Gabriel and his K-9 officer Yoda have worked together for years, and Officer Gabriel talked with us about that special bond.
I got 3 daughters, and so I'm the only man in the house here, so this is my only son right here.
K-9 officer Tony Gabriel and his family have developed a close bond with his K-9, Yoda.
He's become a member of our family, basically, so it'd be just like losing a family member, you know, and Dave's been through enough.
It's because of this bond, Gabriel sympathizes with the loss of St. Paul K-9 officer Dave Longbin's dog, Cody. The K-9 was stabbed to death before police shot and killed his murderer.
I was talking with a Roseville K-9 officer the other night, and we were talking about it. And, you know, there's nothing good that can come of this, but, you know, the best thing that happened is that Cody died doing what he loved.
Officer Gabriel says every day is training day for Yoda.
When I step out that garage door to get in the car and he sees me with my uniform on, he knows it's time to go to work, and that's his most favorite thing to do in the whole wide world.
K-9s put themselves in harm's way to protect police, and he believes they don't get the respect they deserve.
Like Cody, you know, he probably saved the life of an officer because he did what he did.
Gabriel and Yoda will work together another few years before Yoda retires and becomes a full-time family dog, a role he seems quite content with. And although Gabriel knows Yoda won't be around forever, his family is embracing their time with him today.
Maplewood has used the K-9 program since 1977, and Officer Joe Demeling and Bricks are the 11th team.
The world of law enforcement is built around partnerships, and sometimes the most unusual jobs help shape public safety.
Here's a profession that takes a special kind of person to perform.
It's absolutely not boring. It's incredibly interesting. And they're absolutely right, it's totally different than TV. We don't go chase the bad guys like they do on TV. You know, I don't carry a gun. I don't show up with high heels and cleavage. You know, it's not like that. We do show up at the scene, but we're usually wearing sensible shoes. The part to me that's exciting is the figuring out what happened. Not so much in the homicides, because lots of times someone was stabbed or shot. Or, you know, homicides, there's kind of a limited range of what someone can do to somebody else to kill them. But the thing that I find interesting are natural deaths, where any organ in the body can cause problems. And so, to me, it's an incredibly exciting job. There are certain types of deaths that by law, by state statute, have to be reported to the medical examiner. And some of those include anyone who dies outside of a healthcare facility, so anybody who collapses at home or in the public, anyone who has not seen a doctor within 4 months, any unnatural death, so accident, suicide, homicide, undetermined death, any death at work, any death in an emergency department. So there's this huge number of deaths that by law have to be reported to us. Then it's up to us as the medical examiner to determine what the extent of our investigation will be. I've never had dreams, and the things that keep me awake at night mostly are work related in the sort of business sense. You know, personnel stuff or budget or getting paperwork done, but not the personal stuff. We have to really develop an ability to separate ourselves from the person who's died and their family. Not so much that we can't be compassionate, but enough that we can function. A number of years ago, Catherine Olson was murdered, and it was called the Craigslist killer because she was answering a babysitting ad on Craigslist. And She could have been my daughter. I have a daughter named Catherine. Her name was Catherine. She went to St. Olaf. My kids have friends who went to St. Olaf. She was just trying to get a job. She was just trying to help this person that she thought was a young mom who needed a babysitter. And she didn't do anything wrong. She wasn't drinking. She wasn't not wearing her seatbelt. She wasn't doing drugs. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And this terrible, terrible thing happened to her. And that, to this day, is the worst case I've ever had to deal with. I actually went to her funeral, which I've never done before or since, but it was just this, I just felt this bond with her. We've certainly had people faint in the autopsy room, and, it's not for everyone. I think partly it's the idea of it more so than the reality. I mean, yes, there are smells and they aren't all good smells. In fact, none of them really are good smells. But most of the time you can kind of adjust to that. When we have, for example, a law enforcement officer, this is where it comes up most often, that is feeling a little queasy, once we kind of get them focused on, okay, look, here's what we're doing, then usually they're okay. It was forensic pathologists who said, we aren't seeing people who are wearing their seatbelts that die in car crashes. What we see are people who are not wearing their seatbelts. And so it's that kind of public health data that then can be used in public health campaigns to put together, yes, cigarette smoking causes cancer and heart disease. Yes, not wearing your seatbelt increases your risk of dying in a car crash. Yes, a baby sleeping face down increases their risk of dying. I mean, all of that is really, really important, and that's what we do, is provide that kind of information.
That does take a certain kind of person, but it's very important work. St. Paul police continue to search for a suspect who vandalized Maplewood Sergeant Joseph Bergeron's memorial. The engraved stone stands near the Bruce Vento Trail, where Sergeant Bergeron was shot and killed. A vandal smeared white paint over the stone in November.
Anyone with information is asked to call St. Paul Police. Well, remember, we want to hear from you.
Check out our Facebook page, like us, and make sure to see updates. Provide comments and story ideas. That does it for this edition of Your Police Report.
Have a safe and happy 2014. See you next time.